Hello and welcome back to Solo Summer with Sammy K. It is week 2 of me telling you absolutely everything that's happened during my travels, all of my crazy stories, all of my raunchy stories, all of my bad stories, all of my sad stories, literally every detail of every day that's happened to me while I'm traveling. Not every detail, not the boring ones, but the most interesting ones, the ones that you want to hear. I'm providing you with the content for. I have been officially on the road for over a month, which feels crazy because it's on the road, whatever. I'm on no roads. I'm on fucking my feet, bro. I've been on my feet with a backpack, it feels, for a month and a week now, because I could not believe that when I realized it, because it feels like I've been going for not that long. I was telling everyone, they're like, oh, how long have you been traveling? I'm like, well, about 3 weeks. Not true. Literally not true. I've been traveling for a month and almost another week. It'll be a month and 6 days today. That's fucking crazy. That's a long ass time to be on the road. But I have gathered you all the stories from this week. I had a romantic ass week. I was talking to so many women this week and so many beautiful girls, and I just had the most amazing time. But I literally, if you're watching the video episode, there is a whole notebook spread of stories that I have to tell you guys for the week. And I am so excited to share all of them with you. I have a lot to say, and a lot has happened this week in my second week of having this podcast and fucking 5th week of solo traveling. But if you've never seen my face before, hi, I'm Sam. I've been traveling for 6 months. I studied abroad in Australia this past semester. So from January to May, I lived in Australia and I was able to travel with friends around there. And I went to New Zealand, Thailand, Vietnam. And then after that, I took a solo trip to Bali, and then I met some friends in Morocco. Then I went to Portugal, and now I'm in Spain. So you might be wondering, Sam, where are you now? If you're watching the video episode, I have this really beautiful, fun background. I'm actually on the Olympic grounds in Barcelona. Fucking random ass place to film a podcast, but it's so beautiful, and there's no one here. It's a Sunday. There's a couple people here, but not many at all. So I'm just sitting here recording the podcast, and without further ado, let's get into this week. Oh, wait, no. Oh, and I have an announcement. So last week, if you'll remember, I talked about how I wanted to make an impact with this podcast and with every episode, be donating to local charities in the area and things that matter to me and causes that I want to support. And so last week, it was Save the Children. I had a conversation with some people who worked there and the team there when I was in Bali solo traveling, and they were telling me all of the beautiful work that they're doing in Gaza for all of the displaced children and families, and getting them aid and shelter and food and water and all of the help that they can. So that is the charity from last week, and I'm happy to announce that we are going to be donating $120 from the podcast to Save the Children for providing relief in Gaza. So I'm so excited to make that donation. I will be sharing that all on the Solo Summer Pod Instagram. And if you stay tuned to the end of this episode, I'm going to be sharing about what charity we're donating to for this episode and their cause, their mission, and also how you can donate as well. No, or not even donate, how you can get me to donate for you, in other words, because I am matching donations. So very exciting, very excited to make a difference with this podcast and be sharing all my travel stories and also giving back to local communities. So without further ado, let's get into the crazy little stories from this raunchy little week. It wasn't even raunchy, but I just really like that word and I wanted to say it. And this episode is all about romance, and I feel like raunchy and romance kind of go together, but for me, they low-key didn't this week. Like, this week was wholesome as fuck. It was not even raunchy. Let's dive in. If you'll recall, if you listen to episode 1, if you haven't listened to episode 1, go binge it. Like, do get the whole summer, spend the whole fucking summer with me. Why don't you? So episode 1, we were in Lagos, and I was saying that I was going to Sevilla next. So I get on my bus, and everything was going amazingly, swimmingly. It's like a 2-hour bus ride. I get off the bus in Sevilla, and who do I see when I get off the bus other than one of my best friends from Lagos, who I had spent the past 2 days with nonstop, but my friend Gracie. And we get off the bus and we're like, no way. I didn't know you were going to Sevilla, because we had literally in Lagos said our goodbyes to each other, spent the entire time. We had like a friend group in Lagos. Lagos was fucking amazing. It was all other 19-year-old girls who were also solo traveling, and we all hung out for a day, and then we went out and Gracie and I hung out the next day. Like, it was literally like I had made good close friends, which solo traveling is so like it feels like such a blessing. And so I get off the bus and I see Gracie and I'm like, oh my God, And she's like, I didn't know you were going here. And I was like, I didn't know you were going here. And so we're like, this is crazy. Like, do you want to walk to our hostels together? So we ended up walking like the 30 minutes to our hostels. We were staying at different hostels. And then we ended up meeting up that night for dinner and drinks, which was so incredible. But in the meantime, I get to my hostel. And this is where we start with the romantic ass shit. This isn't even my story. This is not even my story, but I'm stealing it and I'm telling it to you guys because I've never heard a more beautiful fucking story in my entire life. When she was telling me this, I was starstruck. Not starstruck, that's not the right word, but I was literally jaw dropped on the floor. You guys aren't gonna believe this shit. Not gonna believe it, but like, just wait. So I check into my hostel. I get in my hostel room. It's a 4-bed female dorm, so I'm the only one in there. And then another beautiful woman walks in. And she walks in, we say hi, we introduce each other, whatever. And she asked me, she's like, oh, where are you coming from? I'm like, oh, I'm coming from Lagos. She's like, oh, I was just there. Like, I didn't have that good of a time. Like, I was just struggling. Like, I was not having a good time. I'm like, oh, why? She's like, well, I met this guy when I was in Tenerife, Spain, and we basically spent the past month together falling in love. And I'm like, what? Like, tell me everything, because I am a travel romance fiend. Every single romantic sexual experience, kiss, anything I've ever, that's not even true. I'm like, any kiss I've ever had in my entire life has been travel. Like, that's not true. But when I travel, every single first that I've ever had has been when I'm traveling. Every single cutest story of my entire life I've had while traveling. All of my flings, all of the people that I've like really been with have been while traveling. Like, I love a travel love. A travel fling. I cannot get enough of them. As you'll fucking see, bro, I'm a fiend. I am a travel romance fiend. And so when she's telling me, but also I've never been traveling where I've like fallen in love. Like, that's crazy. And that is straight out of a movie. So I'm like, tell me everything. Like, I want to hear all about this love. I want to hear every single thing. Tell me every detail. Like, I'm sitting here being like, please overshare to me right now. Like, please. She's like, oh my God. Okay. So I go to Tenerife and she's like, it wasn't in my plans. She's telling me, she's like, oh my God, so many things had to get messed up for me to get there. Like, she missed her bus, she missed her driver, like, all of this stuff was happening, and like, it kept getting her train pushed back. Like, she was like, some weird stuff, some weird universe hits were happening to her, where she's like, this isn't what's supposed to be happening, but it kept happening. And so she's already like, all right, the universe has been controlling my day. She's like, I wasn't gonna go out that night, but then like I met someone, or I don't know. Anyway, she ended up going out. She says she was about to leave. She's walking down the stairs, or she's walking up the stairs to go get one more drink or something. And this guy is walking down the stairs and they lock eyes. And she said immediately it just felt different, like nothing she's ever felt before. And they look at each other. And then he says to her, he's like, hey, I was about to take my friends home, but would you want to come with me? And she's like, yeah. What? How bizarre. She's telling me this. She's like, what the fuck? Like, why would I say yes? Why would he ask me that? Like, that's so random to meet a stranger and then for them to be like, do you want to come with me to take my friends home? Immediately. Not even like, hi, hello. Like, hey, I'm about to take my friends home. Like, do you want to come with me? That's so crazy. So she was like, yes, I would love to. Like, I would absolutely love to. And so she did. And I guess in the car, they were hitting it off, like having the best time. He was like, oh, like, can I kiss you? And like all his friends were in the back seat. So she's like, oh my God, like, he's not afraid to show me off, whatever. And she really liked that because I guess in the past, like, her boyfriend was weird about that. And so she was already like, okay, off to a great start. They spent the night together. They started like seeing each other and they didn't stop hanging out after that at all. And literally just fell in love. She's like, I have never felt something like this before. And she's like, I'm 35. I've been in relationships for 9 years, 3 years, 5 years. Like, I've had a lot of boyfriends and never before has it ever felt like this, ever. She's like, people would always say, when you know, you know. And she's like, I never believed it. I never thought it was real. But this time, like, it really does feel like that. She's like, the town that I met him in, like, that feels like home. Like, that feels like home. What? That's the cutest thing I've ever heard. And she's telling me this, and she's obviously telling it with like her face is lighting up. She shares it with so much passion. She's so excited about it. And I'm literally getting chills. I'm tearing up. I'm like, this is the most beautiful story I've ever heard. And I am like, I love a travel romance. Like, this is oh my God. So it's like, we're off to the great start. So then I go out that night and Gracie and I meet for dinner and we have a beautiful little dinner. We hang out and I love Gracie. I'm such a Gracie fan. Like, I feel so grateful to have met her because it just felt like we talked about it after. We're like, it feels like we've known each other for so long. Like, we are just having the best time, like just chatting it up. Like, she's from Oregon and she was solo traveling and studying abroad. Like, we had very similar like schedules and stories, and it just felt like we'd known each other for so long. And it was so cool. Next day I just spent it walking around the city, and then that night I meet Gracie for her hostel pub crawl. I was like, I'll do it with you guys. Hostel pub crawls, I'm a fiend for them. You'll see in this video, I fiend for a hostel pub crawl. I'm probably going to do one tonight, and if not tonight, then I'm definitely doing one tomorrow. I love a hostel pub crawl. At every new hostel I go to, I do the pub crawl because it's a way to meet people, and it's a way to introduce new characters in your life and go out and dance and drink, and I always have such a good time. And so I'm like, all right, hostel pub crawl with Gracie, let's do it, count me in. So they're going out to dinner first. I meet up with them for dinner, and I am sitting at like the opposite end of the table from Gracie. I'm like, I know none of these people. I show up late. I'm just like, hey, can I just sit here? Like, they're already done with their dinner chat and like deep in conversation. And then I'm like, all right, I'm inserting myself. Like, I was so nervous, but I'm like, whatever. So I sit down and I start talking to this guy from Canada. We're just like chatting it up, whatever. And then it's time to go to a bar, and we go to this bar, and me, Gracie, and this guy from Canada are all hanging out. And then this other girl comes up, and we are all just hitting it off, chatting it up. She was so beautiful. Like, I tell this story on TikTok, like, if you guys saw my TikTok about this story, but I was literally like, we're talking, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, okay, you know those people who just have like a perfect face where you're like, how do you look so beautiful? You know what I mean? Like, just your features are unreal. Like, you're actually one of the most beautiful people I've ever seen. So she was one of those people, and I was like, okay, like, we're talking, and she was an art major and like had such interesting things to say. I was just like, oh my God, like, all right. And we're chatting, and like what had started as this conversation with 4 people in it, like suddenly no one else was in the room. You know what I mean? Like, do you know when those conversations happen where you're like, oh, we're all talking, but then suddenly like we're not all talking anymore. Like, it's just me and her in this conversation, like locked eyes, just being like, oh, like talking. And she's not from the United States, but when I told her I was from Illinois, she's like, oh my God. She started pulling out all of this niche knowledge about Illinois, where I'm like, I don't barely even know that. Like, she's talking about John Wayne Gacy, Mary Todd Lincoln, like, and then a town. Oh my God, it was a niche town. It was like Decatur or Jacksonville. Where I'm like, why do you know about that? Like, that's so crazy. Like, she was from Europe. And I'm like, what? And I guess one of her favorite artists had made this concept album, and it was all about Illinois and all about these niche things in Illinois. And so she was telling me all about how this is one of her favorite albums of all time and how I need to listen to it. So the next day I was like walking around and listening to it. It was so interesting. And so already having a great time. Then we see these girls at the bar, and they did a beer bong, and my American ass is like, okay, that's an option. We're doing a beer bong. I was like, you want to hit this beer bong? She was like, yeah, let's do it. So what a beer bong is, if you don't know, it's like a funnel, and then it goes to these tubes. This one had 2 tubes connected to one funnel. So it's like a 2-person beer bong, and they put the beer in, and then you just have to chug it as fast as you can. Well, at this bar, they put the beer in, and then they put in 2 shots of liquor, and then fucking more liquor. Like, they put in so much stuff, and we fucking slayed it. We absolutely slayed it. It was so good. The video's on my TikTok if you want to see. But yeah, beer bong, done. I'm pretty drunk. And I'm saying to this girl, I'm like, honestly, do you want to just go walk around the streets drunk? And she's like, yeah. So we walk around the streets drunk. We're hanging out. And then we're like, let's go to the next club. So we go to this next club. And at this club, we get in the club. And I'm like, all right. I like can't even remember. This feels like this 1 week right now has felt like genuinely a million fucking years. Like the stories of this day that I'm telling you right now feel like years ago. And I know it was 1 week ago, but it feels like a fucking year. So much has happened in this one short week. So it's gonna be a good episode. So basically, we go to this club, we get in, and all of a sudden I see 2 girls kissing. And whenever I see 2 girls kissing, I'm like, oh my God, you guys are gay. I love gay people. Like, yes. Like, I feel so excited. I'm like, oh my God, like literally. And when I see a couple out in real life that's like a lesbian couple and they're kissing or hugging or holding hands or whatever, like, it takes everything in me to not just like say to them and be like, you guys are so cute, I love you, like, I support you. Like, I just feel so like Like, I know that would be fucking weird, and so I have to hold myself back every time because I'm just like, oh my god, like, seeing a lesbian couple in the wild, I'm just like, oh my god, like, I'm one of you, I understand, like, you guys are so cute, like, just so you know, like, I'm staring at you because you're just adorable and not because I'm a weirdo fucking man, like, we'll get into later in the fucking episode. But anyway, I didn't, but I noticed them. I'm like, oh, cute couple, so happy for them, love them. So then the girl that I was talking to, should I give her a name? I'll give her a name. We'll say Maya. I don't know why, but we'll say Maya. Have I talked to a girl named Maya? No, I haven't. Okay, that's a fair name to give her then. Okay, so my fake names are so funny. I think to have a podcast and then give people that I'm going on dates with fake names, that's so fun. Okay, we're gonna do that. So Maya goes to the bathroom. And I see just, how did we even start talking? I don't know. But I start talking to one of the girls in the lesbian couple that I was admiring. And because her girlfriend had gone off, maybe, I think, also to the bathroom. And so we start chatting it up. And she was also from the United States. She was from Texas. So we're talking, just like becoming best friends, whatever. She was living in Berlin at the time. And so we're just chatting it up. Then Maya comes out of the bathroom with this girl's girlfriend. And they had been chatting in the bathroom. And they were best friends now. Not like best friends, but they were friends now. So then they come out, and it had been like me and Maya all night, and then them two all night, and then suddenly we became friends separately. So it was immediately like a quadruple, foursome. I guess would be the word, a quadruple. That's not right, Sam. But then we're all like, oh my god, like, look at that, would you look at that? And we all start talking, and the two girls live in Berlin, and I'm like, how did you guys start dating? Like, tell me everything. They're like, oh, like, do you want to go outside and have a smoke? And like, I'll tell you the full story of how we're dating. So I'm like, yes, please, like, please give me all their lesbian romance stories. Like, I want to hear it all. Like, tell me everything. So we go outside, and they told me the story of how they started dating. Basically, they're like, it was a one-night stand to us, like, falling in love. Like, she's like, we hooked up one night, and then suddenly I was going 2 hours to Berlin to, like, go stay with her and see her. And all of her friends were making fun of her, being like, what are you doing? She's like, I don't know, guys, it's different. And then they'd been dating for a long time now, and we sat outside, and, I mean, we were chain smoking cigarettes, and they taught me how to roll a cigarette. I personally, side note on cigarettes, I'm not a smoker. I have never had a nicotine addiction. I used to think vapes were so sexy. I actually have to come clean. I still think vapes are so sexy. I think that a Juul, not all vapes. It's very important, not all vapes. I think that a Juul, I'm sorry. I am so sorry, but I have to speak my truth. I think a Juul is so sexy. I think if you're hitting a Juul, I actually want to make out with you and fuck you. Sorry. I love a Juul. I love it. I don't love hitting it. I don't want it. I just think that they look so attractive. I'm a victim to the Juul era. Like, I still think they're so sexy. Like, if I see someone with a Juul, oh my god. I talked to a girl who, like, was a jeweler. For one, she'd hit it, I'd be like, honestly, like, hard eyes. I don't know why. It feels so dumb. I know it's not right. I know it's wrong. Sorry, that was my side note. But anyway, so never been a Nick user, but ever since I've been in Europe, I have been smoking cigarettes when I've drunk. I have been doing drunk cigs, and it's because it's so normal here. Like, they're like, let's go out for a smoke. And also smoking in Europe, I guess in the States too, like a drunk cig, but it's so social. Like, when you're in the club, it's such loud music, and like, you can't get to know anyone. And because I'm solo, like, I want to be making connections to people when I'm traveling and like having conversations. And so a good way that I found to do that is people are like, oh, I'm gonna go out for a smoke. I'm like, oh, I'll come with you. And usually they just offer me a couple hits. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, it's nice. I don't know. So that's where I go with smoking. But for some reason, this day specifically, we were out there for so long just chain smoking, and they were rolling their own. And so I learned how to roll. I've only ever rolled joints before, so I was like, oh, this rocks. So I learned how to roll a cigarette, and I felt really, really badass doing that. And then I smoked the cigarette that I rolled. Sorry, not me getting into, like, I'm not promoting nicotine, but I did roll my own cigarette, and that felt really fucking awesome. So to continue on, we're out there, we're talking. They were telling me about Berlin, specifically the going out in the club scene in Berlin, because obviously, like, it's very much known for, like, Berghain and for Kit Kat and like their burlesque club, or is it not? No, they're like bondage clubs and these sex clubs and these crazy, like, ooh, clubs, like going crazy, and like you can't have your phone, and it's very like intimate and private and different. It's like very different from anywhere else in the world. Well, I guess those clubs probably exist in every city, but like Berlin is very much known for them. She's like, if you ever want to come to Berlin, you have a place to stay, like you fucking rock, like whatever. She's like, me like telling you guys the compliments that she gave me. I'm like, you guys need to know what she said about me. No. But she's like, if you ever want to come to Berlin, like you have a place to stay, I'll take you out with me. And she was just saying, she's like, if I want to go out naked and just that, like that's what I want to do that day to express myself. No one bats an eye. No one's judging you. Like it is such an accepting place. It's like nothing she's ever experienced before. And like the way that she was describing it was just like everyone being their most authentic self, whether that is being fully naked for them or wearing crazy outfits or wearing something that's out of the box or like anything like that, and just going out and being in a space where other people are expressing themselves to the full extent as well is such a magical thing for humans to do. And I want to experience that. I want to go to Berlin now, and especially because I've always heard, obviously, so much about Berlin nightlife, as everyone kind of does on TikTok. I feel like Berghain went viral, and everyone was like, ooh, what's in Berlin? Like, what's happening in Berlin? And I've had friends who have visited there who love it, who gone out and said it's, like, the best nights of their life. Like, I've had so much fun. So, obviously, it's always been on my radar. But I didn't want to go there solo traveling because I knew that the clubs are kind of hard to get into, and you should know German or know someone who knows German. And like, I didn't know where to go. Like, I didn't know anything, but her saying she would take me around and show me, and she's so excited about the culture and everything, like that is definitely something that I want to do. So now Berlin is on my list for this summer. So I hope that I can go to Berlin and visit her again this summer. That would be amazing. So that was my little, God, we're 25 minutes in and I'm 2 lines down on my story. This is going to be fucking a long episode. They're always long episodes, but this one's going to be apparently especially long. Maybe I could skip some of these stories, but we literally have 35 stories written down. 37, actually. And we are on number, what are we on? Number 3. Number 3. Okay, so anyway, this story's almost done. Go back into the bar, and we're dancing. And this girl says to me, not Maya, but the girl from Texas, says to me, she's like, are you shy? And I was like, no, like, what do you mean, am I shy? Like, no, I'm not shy. She's like, you're acting a little, like, you seem like you're a little shy. Like, what are you scared about? Like, you should just grab her and dance with her and, like, kiss her. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Like, yeah, I'm a little shy. Like, yeah, yes, no, like, I'm very nervous to do that. Like, no, like, I'm scared. She's like, and so I said to her, I'm like, is she queer? Like, because they had been having conversations too by themselves, and like, I had never asked Maya her sexuality, but like, the vibes were definitely there. But I was just like, I don't know, like, unless I asked someone explicitly. Like, I never have any idea. Or sometimes they'll be like, oh, this girl I was talking to, like, they'll say it explicitly, but like, I never know. Like, I'm not gonna assume and just like grab someone. Like, that feels so male to do. So I was like, oh no, like, I'm nervous. So I was like, is she queer? And she's like, yes, like, yes. And I was like, okay. So we're dancing, and I totally did. So I did. I like grabbed her waist and pulled her in, and then we started dancing together, and she smiled so big, and then we're dancing. It was so cute. And I was just like, oh my God, like, wing woman of the century there, for her to be like, just grab, like, dance with her. And I was like, okay. And so then we're dancing, and then we're kissing on the dance floor, and then we dance, and then we kiss, and it's so cute, except for the little men that roll in anytime. This is oh my God, oh my God, this doesn't happen to me at my college. This doesn't happen to me in the United States, but every single place that I've been in outside of the United States, without fail, it has happened to me. When I am at a club, and I guess maybe this is my own fault because I'm kissing people in the middle of the dance floor, so anyway, let me rant, because this doesn't happen when I make out with guys. I've made out with, this is valid because I'm such a diff mower. Diffmo means dance floor makeout, if you did not know. Diffmo means dance floor makeout, if you did not know. I'm such a diff mower. I love it. I will sing from the rooftop praises for a diffmo. I love a diffmo. I think it's so beneficial. I think it's so beneficial to society to make out with people on the dance floor. Anyway, no, but I'll make out with hella men on the dance floor, and never, ever, ever does anyone bat an eyelash or say anything. Anytime I share even the tiniest smooch with a girl, swarms, immediately fucking, oh my God, I will open my eyes. Well, not when I'm kissing them, but afterwards, pull away, open my eyes, look behind us. Oh my God, a whole friend group crowded in like fucking hawks of these little ass, chirpy ass men, disgusting ass little fucking perverts, staring dead ass locked in. Like, get a fucking life. Get a life. You're fucking weird. You're weird. You're weird. Get out of here. It pisses me the fuck off. It pisses me the fuck off. Don't sexualize me. Don't be weird. Like, get out. Get out. No, because if I was kissing a man, you would not be looking. You would not be looking. I get it. Maybe you haven't seen fucking girls kiss before, but I bet you have, and I bet you've seen it on the little fucking Pornhub. And I bet that's why you're acting fucking weird right now. That's my rant. I'm not going to continue ranting because I could continue ranting and this episode would actually be 3 hours long because it actually pisses me off. And I've had some really bad experiences with that, to the point where I've left the club like crying before because it's been so frustrating. And it's happened to me since high school. Like, ever since I came out and ever since I started being with women, it has been happening and it's very frustrating. And I understand that maybe it's not as common and that, no, I'm not going to fucking empathize right now and be like, oh, it's okay, like, it's my fault. It's not my fault. No, it's not, because I will kiss men on the dance floor and it doesn't happen. If people stared at me like that when I was kissing men, then I'd be like, okay, well, that's my issue. Then I need to stop kissing people on the dance floor. No, it's a woman-on-woman thing. And it's not a homophobia thing. It's a over-sexualization thing. So that is my little rant about that. But to continue on, ended up leaving, going back to my hostel, got home at like 5 a.m. and I was like, damn, late night. Little did I know, it's an early night in Spain. Early night in Spain, as you will see as we continue on. So then, next day, I go to do this tour. I get there, so excited to do this tour. It's of this like super pretty fucking castle thing. Get there, the guy, I hand him my ticket. He's like, this is for tomorrow, mañana. I'm like, what? He's like, mañana, can't let you in. I was like, is there any way I could go today? Because this was my last day in Sevilla. He's like, no way. And I'm like, okay, well, all right, sucks. Like, I'm not gonna freak out about it, whatever, it's fine. Like, honest mistake, whatever. I think I had booked my ticket after midnight, so what I thought was tomorrow was actually like the same day, you know. I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna freak out about it. I made a little video, made a little TikTok being like, oh, like, shit goes wrong solo traveling, but like, it's okay. No, fucking foreshadowing to the rest of my day. The rest of my day, I meet back up with Gracie, which was that was such a silver lining because we had said goodbye the day before because I knew I was leaving. And so we had said goodbye, but then I got to hang out with her one more day. So that was amazing. And we got to say our actual goodbyes. Be like, oh, I'm gonna miss you. I feel like we've become such good friends, because I never had a friend during solo traveling in the past month that I'd hung out with for more than, other than like Bali boy, that I'd hung out with for more than 3 days, you know. But like, a female friendship is so different than like a man that I'm seeing, you know. So it was so nice. It was so amazing. So then I go to the bus station. I have bus tickets. This is where it gets so ridiculous. It gets so ridiculous. And you guys probably saw this on TikTok. If you follow me on TikTok at all, it's SKZZOLNO. And I've been vlogging all of my travels, like literally all of it. I've been making like fucking 10 vlogs a day. I'm providing you with the fucking content between this podcast that's like an hour fucking long or longer every time. And I realized that I didn't need to say the F word there, and my mom texted me and she was like, loved your podcast other than all the cuss words. And then that moment I like locked in. I was like, oh, I do cuss a lot. I'm not gonna stop though. To continue on, I go to the bus station, and the whole day I'd had such a weird feeling. Like, for some reason I was just like, okay, there's something weird going on. I was like, I know I'm going to be calling it close on my bus. Like, I was like, this bus is going to be a close call. So I'm like getting to the station so early. I get to the station like 30 minutes early. I'm like, all right. I'm like, because I just had such a weird feeling. And so I'm at the bus station. I get in line for the bus that's to Madrid. And I'm like, all right, like, perfect, we're going to Madrid. Like, I'm not even gonna miss my bus. Like, I'm in line, this is perfect, I'm so relaxed. I'm chiefing the fuck out of my pin, just for some backup, chiefing the fuck out of it, ready for this bus ride, ready for this 3-hour bus ride, where for me to just get on and pass out and take a nap, right? Ready to be relaxed. It's 4 minutes before the bus comes, and I'm standing in line for the Madrid bus, and I realize my hostel for that night and my train ticket for that day, right then, in 4 minutes, was not to Madrid, but it was to an entirely different town in Spain that I was spending one night in. And from there, I had a train ticket to go to Madrid. My train ticket was not to Madrid. And so immediately I'm like, fuck. And in my head, I'm like, I knew this was going to happen. Like, as soon as I had that realization, it was like, oh my God, like my body jolted. And I was like, I knew this was going to happen. Like, this is crazy. And I was like, I have 4 minutes. Like, I knew in my head, like in my chest, I was like, okay, like the whole day I knew that I was going to be cutting this bus close. So I was like, it's okay. Like, I know I'll be able to find it in these next 4 minutes. So I'm like racing around. I'm trying to find it. The bus station in Sevilla, they only show you like the final destination of this train route. And because the next city that I was going to go to was not like a big city, it was like a tiny historical town. It wasn't the final route. And so I didn't know what the final city was. I'm looking at my ticket, trying to figure it out. I had no idea. I'm going bus to bus, asking them if this is the bus, if this is the right ticket. No one knows. I'm asking people where they're going. No one knows. Like, no one's going to the town that I'm going to. I could not figure it out. And I'm running up and down. I'm like freaking the fuck out. Like my hands are literally shaking. I'm like trying not to cry. I'm having the worst time. Like, literally, you can see in the video that I posted on TikTok, like I'm holding back tears. Like, I'm freaking the fuck out. I'm so overwhelmed, just like running around trying to figure it out, especially because I thought that I was already about to get on the right bus. Like, I was so chill. I was like, oh my God, yes, like I did it. It happened. Like, I'm chilling. And then to realize that it wasn't, and that I wasn't even close, like it was so fucking frustrating and so disappointing. So after that disappointment, it's like 37, right? My bus was supposed to come at 30. I think it was like 3:30. I got on the bus. I was supposed to get on the bus at 3:30. It was 3:37, and those buses leave. I mean, I've had buses leave at 27 before. Like, they do not mess around. They're not leaving late. Like, those buses are leaving on time. So I was like, okay, like there's no use. Like, I absolutely missed my bus. Like, I absolutely missed my bus. And I'm like, fuck, like I'm freaking out. I'm like, okay. But I'm talking to myself, and I'm like, I know that shit's gonna go wrong solo traveling. Like, we've been there. Like, we've gotten sick. We've had to go to the hospital. Like, you guys know about all the shit that went wrong in episode 1 that I told you about. But I'm like, all right, like I can handle this. I know that it feels so overwhelming right now, but all that I need to do is I'm going to need to book a new train ticket or a new bus ticket. And I'm going to have to book a new hostel. That's all that I'm going to need to do. And it sucks because it's a financial blow. Like, I wasted a night of a hostel accommodation, and then I wasted 2 train tickets because I missed my bus ticket, and then I also wasted 2 bus tickets because I had a bus from that town, from Sevilla to the town that I was going to is Cáceres, and then from Cáceres to Madrid. So both of those train tickets I couldn't use, and then my accommodation I couldn't use, and I was going to have to buy a new train ticket and accommodation. So I'm like, this is just more of a financial blow, and now I'm just going to have to get a new train ticket or bus ticket and then a new hostel. And I'm also the worst part, I think, was that I'm going to have to make the decision of if I'm still going to go to Cáceres, and I'm going to try to do that, and I'm going to try to find a train or a bus to there, or if I'm just going to go to Madrid right now, because I was so excited to go to Madrid. I was like high-key looking forward to it. Like, I'd obviously forgotten that I was going to do a night in Cáceres because I wasn't as excited for it as Madrid. So I end up going to sit down, and I'm like, okay, I'm talking myself through it. I'm like breathing, trying to figure my shit out. I'm like, okay, I want to go to Madrid. I'm going to make that decision. I'm going to go to Madrid. All right, first decision done. Because solo traveling, like, you have to be able to make decisions. And I've learned that so much. Like, you have to just be able to sit down and be like, all right, I'm making this decision. You can't just be like, oh, I don't know what to do. You have to be able to make a decision, and you have to be able to make a decision on your own. So I'm like, all right, I can do that. I made my decision. I'm going to go to Madrid. I was so excited to go to Madrid. I'm going to go to Madrid. So then from there, I'm like, all right, I need to find a hostel for tonight. And what I did was I had a hostel for 2 nights, but like the next 2 nights, right? Because I just had 1 night in this other town, Cáceres. So I called that hostel. I was like, am I able to extend it for tonight? Like, could I book a night in advance and not have to change beds or anything? And they ultimately said yes. So I was like, all right, I got a hostel for tonight. Now I need to look for the bus. The bus tickets were so fucking stupidly expensive. It was like $47, which is fine, whatever. Like, it's just so, like, between missing my accommodation, like, I'm just like, okay, this is no longer fucking budget solo travel. This is me fucking bawling out. So what I could do is take something called a BlaBlaCar, and a BlaBlaCar, it's kind of like an Uber, except it's fucking way more confusing, and I still couldn't figure out. I still to this day don't know how it works, but basically it's like carpooling. It's like a carpool Uber, but for really long distances. But the way that it works is you book it, and then they have 3 hours to like deny or approve your ride. But then I'm like, I need it for today. Like, I need it in like less than 3 hours. Like, I want it for right now. And so then I tried to book 2 of those and it just didn't work. Like, they kept denying my ride. But in the meantime, I was like walking around Sevilla and I ended up having a good day. Like, I got to go over this beautiful bridge and I got to see these beautiful parts of the city that I hadn't seen yet. And I got to fucking sit in the park and sit next to the water, and I had strawberries and a peach, and it was honestly the most beautiful day after missing my bus. So silver linings of that. And yeah, the bus thing was huge. Like, it really taught me that I can handle myself. I can make decisions when solo traveling. Like, I can do it. I'm a big girl. I'm a big girl and I can handle myself. And I was really proud of myself for that. I was very, very proud of myself for that. Then that night I got on the train and I went to Madrid. Madrid has my entire heart. I absolutely loved Madrid. It is one of my favorite places in the entire world now. I loved Madrid. I ended up staying there for 5 nights. You guys know everywhere else I stay for 2 to 3 nighs, 3 nights max. No, Madrid I stayed for 5 nights. 5 nights. I loved Madrid. I loved everything about Madrid. I loved the people. I loved the way that the city looked. I loved the architecture. I loved their schedule. I loved their culture. I loved their food. I loved that the people there would practice Spanish with me. I loved the travelers there that I was meeting. I loved the schedule that I was on. I loved the stores that I was going into. I loved every single thing about Madrid. I loved the nature in Madrid, the parks that they had. I loved the weather. Like, I loved seriously every single thing about Madrid. I loved the nightlife. I loved Madrid, and I felt so at peace in Madrid. It felt like, okay, Madrid is for me. Like, I love Madrid. Like, I'm meant to be here. It just felt so, so nice. And I also love a big city, and I hadn't been to a big city since I was in Lisbon, like the week before. Not unfortunately, I'll own it. I'm a city girl. I absolutely love a big city. I'm from a small town, and I love the mountains. You know that I'll do fucking 3-day backpacking trip, just tent backpacking. Like, I love hiking. I love being in the mountains, but I also love a big city. I love a big city. I feel so calm in a big city. If I'm sitting in the mountains, yes, I'm calm, but I'm also like not that calm. If I'm in a big city, I am at peace. Like, if I'm in a big crowd, I am at peace. Like, I am very much more of a big city, big crowd type person. So being in Madrid, chef's kiss. I absolutely loved it. Okay, sitting in the sun was directly affecting my ability to give you guys a good podcast episode because I was so fucking hot and sweaty, and my brain was going blank because I was so hot. So now we're sitting in the shade with a breeze, and there's a castle behind me. If you're watching on video, you see it. Look how beautiful. Wow. Oh, if you're listening on audio, just know there's a castle behind me, and I can see a castle in the distance as well, which is fucking crazy. To continue, I wish I couldn't find water, you guys, but I am fucking thirsty. But we're gonna share some romance in the rest of this episode that could suffice. Okay, sorry, that was so maybe the sun helped, because now I'm gonna be fucking delusional the rest of this episode, which is good because the stories are fucking crazy. Okay, so missed my train to Madrid. Well, it wasn't even to Madrid, but I had the whole bus fiasco. I use bus and train, just so you know. I use them interchangeably. They're not the same thing. I know they're not the same thing. I'm not fucking 3 years old. I know they're not the same thing. Actually, no, 3-year-olds know that. That's like one of the first things you learn is like bus, train, modes of transportation. No, but I just use them interchangeably. Okay, so the next day, the first day in Madrid, I walk around all during the day and I just explore the city and fall in love with it. And I told you guys how much I love it. And I remember sitting in the square and I sat down, and I've just been practicing like sitting on park benches and things, and it's been life-changing. But I sat down in Madrid and I realized, like, while I was sitting there is a constant noise that is happening in the city, and it is the noise of people talking and having conversations and being around so many people, and like the sounds of cars, and like there's a constant loudness that happens in a city. And when you sit down and you quiet your mind, like, you can tap into that and you can hear it. Even now, I'm in Barcelona. Yes, I'm in a park. There's the sounds of people walking. There's the sounds of conversation. There's the sounds of a fucking rave going on down there, which I don't know if it's someone's car playing music or if there's a rave. And if it's a rave, dude, it might be a rave, like dead ass. I'll record the podcast first and then explore. But there's a constant noise going on, and that noise makes me feel so calm. And I realized that in that moment that I love cities and that I am a city girl. And unfortunately, I am not a mountain queen. I am a mountain queen. I love the mountains, but I love a city. What did we do that night? Other than, oh, you guys could fill in the blanks. Oh, what did Sam do that night? Oh, what did she do? What did she do? Hostel pub crawl. Say it with me, everyone. Hostel pub crawl. What did Sam do that night? Hostel pub crawl. I go on this hostel pub crawl, and I was making to get ready with me in my room, and this girl comes into, like, our hostel room. I was like, oh, sorry, like, don't mind me, like, I'm making my get ready with me. She was like, no way, that's sick, like, do you do YouTube? And I was like, no, like, mostly TikTok, whatever, and we talked about it, and I was just like, yeah, like, I've been able to travel around, make videos, like, I'm nerding out to her, basically, about how lucky I am to be able to do what I do, and we were just having this conversation, and I ended up getting to know her, and I'm like, are you doing the pub crawl? She's like, I could be convinced, and so I convinced her, and we decided to go on this pub crawl, and we go downstairs, we play a game of beer pong, we win 2 free shots. And I am like, do you want to go have, like, a bottle of wine and pregame somewhere else? And then, like, we'll come back because there was still an hour until the pub crawl. She's like, yeah, of course. So we go to pregame and we're talking. And this is some of the best conversation that I've had since solo traveling. Like, sometimes when you meet people, it stays very surface level. And yes, you can hit it off with a sense of humor. And, like, I feel like all of the rest of the people that I've met okay, I'm not going to compare her to people, but, like, I absolutely loved the conversations that we were having. It felt like it was very vulnerable, and we were sharing our honest thoughts, and we were talking about topics that were interesting and I was intrigued about, and we were talking about her life and what she does, and okay, you guys, I I'm whipped. I'm not whipped, but I'm whipped. Okay, so we talk all night, and we go out together. I'm like, this girl's awesome. Like, she's so cool. Like, she's so much fun to talk to, and we're making friends at this pub crawl, and we're taking shots, and we're doing shots left and right. I have a fireball shot. She gets a, like, Jaeger, and I get a fireball, and we're doing those together. And I haven't had fireball since freshman year. I don't know why I did fireball, but we were doing fireball, tequila. I had a beer. Like, we were drinking wine. Like, I had everything. And so we're making friends with these guys. We're not making friends. They offered us free drinks. And so we're just, like, laughing with each other, knowing that, like, none of us were interested in them. But they were getting us free shots. So we took the free shots, and we go outside, and we're sitting and we're talking to these other people that we made friends with. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I realize, like, oh, fuck, like, I'm gone right now. Like, I need to go home. Like, I have to tap out. I do not feel good because I'd mixed every alcohol under the sun. And so I don't even, like, I say goodbye. I'm like, oh, I gotta go home. Like, but I barely fucking remember. Like, I got so drunk, and our hostel was 5 minutes away. Like, it was fine. And there were so many people out on the street. Like, it was not a concern of, like, walking home. Like, I was absolutely okay. So I go home to the hostel, not saying bye to anything. And she left at 6 a.m. the next morning. So I never got to say bye to her because I wake up in my own puke. I wasn't even going to share this on the podcast because it's so embarrassing. I'm going to share little to no details because I am so fucking embarrassed about it, and I also was so drunk that I don't remember any of this, so I don't know how I acted, and I hate that. I might cut this out. I literally might cut this out because it's so fucking nasty. Anyway, wake up in my own puke in my hostel. I have to get new sheets, fucking ask them to change it. Feels so bad. No, this is so bad. I'm actually genuinely, anyway, just know that I know that it was rock bottom. Like, I will not do that again on a hostel pub crawl because it was so fucking bad, and I felt so embarrassed. And the whole time that I've been traveling, I have kept my shit together. I've not gotten too drunk. I barely even got too drunk when I was ever in Australia. Like, I very much held it together, but I think the mixing of everything and also immediately clicking with her, I was like, oh, I've got a friend. And, like, when I go out with my friends, bro, I'm getting so drunk, like, so drunk. And it just felt like I'd known her for so long. Like, we're so good friends. Like, yes, I did just meet her that night, but, like, oh, like, I'm with a good friend. Like, I can drink. Also, I'm a heavyweight, like, oh, I can drink. Bitch, no, hold yourself together. And yeah, so that was another lesson that I learned, is that I need to watch my drinks that I have and not have a lot of them, because it was so painfully embarrassing in the moment, in the morning, waking up to that, so bad. And so obviously I apologized to the people in my hostel room, and they're like, oh, we didn't even hear anything, so it's fine. I was like, okay, well, I'm embarrassed. I don't think that's okay. I'm gonna cut all of that out. Like, that's so... But anyway, the girl had already left at 6 a.m. So I didn't even get to say bye to her because I had just had to tap out of the pub crawl. And so then the next day, I'm walking around just being like, oh my God, like, I wish I could hang out with her again. Like, oh no, like... And I literally... The whole night, too, get this. The whole night, too, it was friend vibes. Like, it was not like, oh, we're flirting with each other. Like, we're gonna hook up, whatever. Like, it was not like that at all. It was very much just like, oh, like, I'm getting to know this new person. Like, amazing. And we just hit it off so well. Like, just immediately, like, I want to be friends with you. And so the next day, I'm walking around, and I go to... What did I do the next day? Oh, yeah. The next day, I went vintage shopping. On my TikTok, I have a vlog of all of the vintage stores that I went to in Madrid and, like, what I got and everything. So you can go watch all of that. I won't get into it here, but it was some of the best vintage that I've ever seen in the entire world. It was so fucking fun and so good. But I'm walking around by myself again. And I'm thinking about her in the night before. And for some reason, I'm like, I want to... I'm literally walking in these vintage stores and I'm like, just in my own brain, I'm like, I want to crawl into this girl. Let me just get my sentence out. It's so cheesy, but let me just say it. Let me just say it and not like laugh so badly. But just know, like, cringe police, like, I'm cringe the fuck out. And the cringe police come a lot during all of these stories, but specifically what I'm about to say, I understand the cringe police. Boop, boop, boop. I have the thought and it pops into my head and I was just like, what the fuck? Like, it was one of those thoughts that pops into your head and you're like, why would, like, that's so random. Why would I think that? Like, that's crazy. That's an interesting thought that I've never had about anyone else before. But I was like, I literally want to crawl into her brain and see, like, find out what her thoughts are about every single thing in the world. Like, I want to know what she thinks about everything and everything she's ever experienced. Like, I want to know the way that she thinks about every topic and everything that she's learned about. And, like, I want to know, like, I want to be inside of her brain and just know everything that she thinks about. I've never felt like that about any other person ever, bro. I could not give a fuck. Not that I couldn't give a fuck. Like, there's been people where obviously I'm like, oh, I really want to get to know you. But to meet her for one night, one, like, drunken night, and then the next day just randomly have this thought of, like, I wish that I could crawl into her brain and explore every corner of it and see what she thinks about everything in the world. What? Is that love? Like, no, it's not. I'm just teasing. But I was literally so surprised by my first, like, by those thoughts. I was like, that's really interesting. So, yeah, super interesting there. And so I am thinking about it, and I'm like, oh my God. And I think that these thoughts were so intensified because, get this, we hadn't exchanged numbers. All I knew was her name, and we never exchanged Instagrams. So I didn't have her number. I didn't have her Instagram. I'm like, there's no way for me to contact this girl ever again. So as I'm having these thoughts, I'm like sending prayers up to the universe. I'm like, universe, please let our paths cross again. Like, please let me meet this girl just somewhere else in the world, like at some point in our lives. Like, I just want to have another conversation with her. Like, I'm not done talking to her. Like, I just want to know more about her and more about her thoughts. Like, I want to have more conversations. And so I'm like sending this prayer out to the universe, and I go along with my day. But the whole day I'm literally thinking about her, and I'm thinking about our conversations the night before and how good they were and how much more I want to just like ask her about. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, I want to talk to her about her art and her opinions and like her school university experience and her university experiences and her experiences growing up. Like, I want to know everything. Like, why am I, like, I'm literally geeking out over this girl. And it was literally, it's completely friend vibes. Like, that's not fucking friend vibes. That's like, this is like the energy of being like you're the first girl that you ever like, and it's like a friend, and you're like, it's like I want to spend all of my time dating. Like, why do I feel this way? Like, this is really random. Like, that's how it feels like, but I know that I'm gay, so I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, so I'm sending out prayers to the universe that our paths will cross again. And the next day I go to this art museum, and I'm in there, and I have another thought where if she's listening to this, she's gonna be like, oh, okay, block. Like, you block this girl. I'm actually gonna keep the rest to myself. I've shared enough. Have I shared enough? I might share more. I think I'll share more. Well, what I was going to say was that we didn't exchange Instagrams or anything, but I told her, like, that we talked a lot about social media. And usually, like, whenever I meet new people, like, especially while traveling, I tell everyone that I do social media, and, like, I talk a lot about it because I think it's cool. And usually they do too, but sometimes I'll meet people and I'm like, I don't know if it's the vibe to bring up, but, like, when I really click with someone, this is such a random tangent side note, but this is one of the gauges with me for relationships or anything like that. Like, not that this is relationships, like, I just met this girl once, but it made me think of this, and I do want to share about it, because one of the things, like, the thing that I'm most passionate about in this life is social media. I love content creation. I want this to be my career, my job. It's what I have a passion for. It's what I'm the Venn diagram of what you love to do, what you're good at doing, and what you can make money doing. That's your calling. Like, that's your career. That's what you should pursue as your job, your day to day, and it won't feel like you're working. Like, that's the life goal. That for me is content creation, social media. It is all of those things combined for me. Like, that is being an influencer, being a content creator. That's that for me completely. And so I pursue that with my whole heart, and it's what I'm the most passionate about and what I'm the most excited about. And so for me, going into any relationship, one of, like, the telltale signs of, okay, is this going to last? Is this going to be something that's meaningful in my life? Well, not meaningful in my life, but something that is going to be I'm trying to think of the right word. Maybe something serious. And this is just a tangent. This does not have anything to do with the girl that I was just talking about. But I talked to girls in the past, and I was in this relationship for, it was like, I mean, low-key, it was only like a month long. We weren't dating or anything, but we were talking, and we never ever once talked about social media or, like, what it meant to me, and I never brought it up. I never felt, like, comfortable enough to be like, oh, these are the vlogs I make, like, this is the content that I create, blah blah blah. Like, I never felt comfortable to share that, and she never asked me about it. And she did know that I did it, but she was like, oh, like, I was like, no, don't watch it. And she was like, so I don't watch it. And that was that. And just kind of in the back of my head, I'm like, I like her, I like everything about her, but I know that this isn't going to be something serious, or that this isn't going to work, because, like, the vibes are off with this. Like, if we're not sharing, like, it's something so interesting. Like, you should be able to share your passions with someone without the fear of judgment or the fear of, like, anything like that. And so whenever I do sense that there could be that judgment in someone, I know that, like, okay, I can have my fun. Like, I am not going into this as something serious. So it's like, okay. And I think that's a good gauge for you guys to think about in relationships that you're going into ever. If you're with someone, or if you're in a situationship, or you're talking to someone, and it's okay, like, and the girls that I've talked to before that, like, I haven't really talked to about social media, like, they've all been situationships, and we've gone into it kind of knowing that it's a situationship and things. If you're in a what the fuck is this episode? But if you're in a situationship and you're not comfortable talking about your biggest passion with them, and they're not asking you about it, and, like, you're not sharing how much you love this thing, even though you love this thing more than you love them, they're not the one, babe. Like, you can move on. And so I've been learning that, like, as I've been in more and more situationships, like, talking to people in Australia and talking to people at home before I went to Australia and talking to people studying, it's like, all right, that's a good gauge. And right now, oh my God, wait, literally, let me put this out there. Right now, bitch, girl, no serious relationships are happening. Like, I am traveling around for so long. Oh my God. Do you guys see how fucking flustered I am? Why am I fucking acting like this? I'm so flustered right now, and I'm so nervous because I am so nervous that this girl is listening to this episode and realizing that I'm fucking crazy. Not that I'm literally not crazy. I'm actually not crazy. You're genuinely the first person who has ever made me feel like this. If you're watching this, I don't know what's happening. Yeah, so I'm nervous. I'm not nervous, but anyway, I'm probably going to end up cutting out half of this because I am so flustered about it, because I've just never felt this way before, and it's very fun to have this feeling. I love when I have new feelings like this of, like, holy shit, like, that thought surprised me, this feeling surprised me. Like, that stuff is so interesting. And just, even if I never see her again and I never talk to her again, and she never had any similar thoughts about me and was just like, all right, like, cool person to meet, had a good night, whatever, that is completely okay, because now I know that that is something that I'm capable of feeling, and that is a feeling that I'm capable of having, of meeting someone and being like, wow, like, I genuinely want to know everything about you, because I've never felt that way about anyone before. And the fact that it happened once means that there are people out there where it will happen again, and that is so beautiful. Like, I think that is what leads to love and leads to I've never been in love, but like I don't know anything about it, but it's something cool. Like there are strong feelings that exist out there, and I am kind of getting a glimpse of, like, I feel like some of the first early ones, you know? And especially traveling, like if I met her for one day and then felt like that, like imagine who else I could meet. I don't know. I don't know what it means. I don't know anything other than that is a feeling that I had that surprised me. Moving on. Next up, let me refer back to my big journal of things to tell you. It's actually crazy because the next story in here is a Tinder date that I went on. I have been going on so many little romantic rendezvous. Is this episode making me sound like a whore? No, it's crazy because the thing is that all of these are so wholesome, and like it's literally just been me making connections with people and like having little kisses and being like, oh my god, and just smiling and dancing with women and having beautiful experiences with beautiful girls and getting to know them and dancing in pretty streets and running around pretty streets and kissing in pretty bars and prancing around the world, having these little rendezvous. And that to me is magic. If you would have told little Sam that I would have had all of these wonderful things happen in 1 week and have met all of these incredible women, I would have been like, oh my god, like I'm living the dream. Like that is the dream. Like I cannot believe that. And so I feel very grateful to have had all of these experiences this week, especially solo summer. Solo travel is for experiences like this. So I decided I wanted to go on a date, and I was swiping on Tinder, swipe, doing my thing. I love Tinder. I'm such a Tinder ambassador. I actually dead ass, I'm such a Tinder ambassador. I didn't even mean that, but I dead ass am a Tinder ambassador. I did a brand deal with them last year at university, and I was a Tinder ambassador. Like I'm actually dead ass like contracted as a Tinder ambassador. And I fucking love Tinder. Like they picked the right girl because I love Tinder, especially like solo traveling. As a generation, we should be going on more dates. We need to be going out of our comfort zones. We need to be meeting people in real life. What does this generation need more of? We need more of getting out of the house, more of meeting people, more of being outside of our comfort zone, more of getting off of our phones and doing real activities, more of making memories, more of doing it for the plot, doing it for the story. Think about this. Every time you go on a date, you now have something to talk about. You now have a story. Every single time you go on a date, if it's not good, you have a story. If it's good, you have a fucking love, a romance, a fling, a kiss, a holding of hands. You have something dope that happens to you. There's really no losing situation unless you have like a really bad date and it like has lasting impacts on your mental health, but hopefully that just doesn't happen. I don't know. We need to be going on more dates, whether that's on Tinder, on Hinge, setting your friends up. Dude, set your friends up on dates. If you know people who would get along romantically, set them up on dates. I've been set up on dates before, and it's so fun, and it's worked out. I've ended up like talking to them for weeks at a time. Like, and also the thing is that it's not that serious. Like, if you go on a Tinder date, if you go on a date from Tinder, or if you go on a date from anywhere, like, it doesn't mean that you have to commit to them. Like, you don't have to start talking to them. You do not have to go on a second date. You do not have to do anything that you don't want to do. You can leave the date. Like, you don't have to kiss them at the end of the date. Nothing is like, it's not serious, you know? Like, it's okay to go on a date and have a conversation and just like have met someone. It doesn't have to be a whole huge thing. And so in every city that I go to, I like to go on a date if I can, or like try to set one up if I'm feeling like it. And so I was feeling like I wanted to go on a date, so I started swiping on Tinder, and I made my bio literally just like, let's go on a date tonight. And so a girl matched with me and slid up and was like, let's do it. And I was like, awesome. Like, are you free for dinner? And she was like, yeah. We ended up settling on getting drinks, and not settling, like we just wanted to go get drinks instead of dinner because, oh my God, that is one of the biggest flies I've ever seen in my entire life. Holy shit. Oh, it flew away. Okay. Anyway, we decided to go get drinks at this bar called El Chapandas, and this was recommended to me by someone I went to high school with who studied abroad in Madrid. And she was like, they have horchata. It's like a milk alcohol drink that's like a Spanish milk alcohol drink, and she's like, it comes out of the ceiling, and it's a good, like, she said that they used to pregame there before they would go out. And I was like, all right, let's go to this spot. So we get a drink, and it was so much fun. We're just like having a conversation, and she was really dope. Like, it was a great time. We had an amazing conversation, like just having fun. chatting it up, getting to know her. She was from the United States as well, and then was doing like a summer program in Madrid. And as we're sitting there talking, I like told her that I did social media. Like I told her a little bit about it, and these girls come up, but like I didn't give her context. Like I wasn't like, oh my god, like I'm vlogging like literally everything that I'm doing here. Like I'm posting it all. Like I just kind of told her like, oh, I do social media, whatever, like started in college, like really love it, it's my biggest passion, whatever. These girls come up to me while I'm sitting there on this first date, and like it wasn't awkward or anything, but it was just like funny, the principle of it. And they're like, hey, do you by any chance like do TikTok? And I was like, yeah. And like this girl that I'm with is probably like, wait, what the fuck? Like she does TikTok. Like, if she's getting recognized, like that's so funny. And so I'm just like, yes, I do, like that's crazy. And they're like, all right, like we don't know you, but one of our friends that we're with does, like watches your videos, and she didn't know if it was you, but like wanted to come up, like we wanted to come up and say hi. And I was like, oh, like I'll just go up and say. I was like, oh my god, yes, like tell her yes, like it's me. She's like, oh my god, like we were looking at your jewelry, like trying to figure it out if it was you before I came up. Like I didn't want to come up to the wrong person. And basically it ended up being a girl from the United States and a girl from Madrid, and the girl from Madrid had studied abroad in the United States, and then the girl from the United States was visiting her friend in Madrid. And it was so cool. So then they invited us to come dance with them, and we're like, oh my god, like once we finish our drinks, like we'll absolutely come over and dance and hang out. So this girl that I was on a date with and we finish our drinks, and we're like, let's go dance. So we go over and we dance with these girls from Spain, and I end up meeting all of them and all of their friends, and we're dancing to all of the Spanish music. And Spanish music, oh my god, Spanish music at the club is so, it wasn't even a club, it was just a bar, but I am literally asking I'm asking this girl, her name was Anna, I'm asking her every song. I'm like, what is this called? Like, will you type this into my Spotify? And like I showed her one of the songs. Like I was like, what is this called? And she told me the name of it, and I typed it into my Spotify, and she's like, and I'm like, is this it? And she's like, oh baby, no, like no, you're not even close, like you are not even close. I was like, fuck. Spanish music fucking rocks. And then went on that date, was great, didn't go on a second date, and that's what I'm saying, that's okay. Like it was a fun conversation, it was a fun night. It wasn't like we hit it off and had this instant chemistry that was like crazy, like oh my god, like I need to see her again forever. Like I only had 2 more days in the city, so I was like, we're probably not gonna go on a second date, but like that's okay. And like I had an amazing time, and like I got to meet her and I got to hear her story and what she does, and I absolutely love that. And dates, we should be going on more dates. Dates should not be that serious, and we should be going on more of them. And that is my takeaway for you for this podcast, is if you're listening to this, you should be diff mowing more, and you should be going on more dates. Genuinely, please kiss more people, go on more dates. I think that we should all have more romance in our lives. Also, I'm such a romantic person. Like I love romance stories. Also, the whole time I was in Madrid, I was reading a romance novel. It was called Milk Fat. I gave the full review on my TikTok, so you can go look at that if you want to know what it was like. But genuinely such a romantic person, so that was amazing. Next day, I end up sliding into the girls who came up to me as DMs, and I'm like, hey, would you guys want to maybe like go get dinner or go out like sometime this week? And like my last 2 days was like, they rocked, like I want to hang out with them again. And so they're like, yes, like actually we're going on a picnic tomorrow, like would you want to meet up with us? I'm like, oh my god, like yes I would. And so I go on this picnic with them, and it was fucking amazing. It was so much fun. We're just talking about all things like America, like what it was like. Because, oh my gosh, this girl, listen to this. This poor girl from Spain, not even like, it's just so American. It's like not even like, oh, like this sucks, but it was just so heavily American. Like she probably got the most. Let me just continue. You can form your own opinions. She studied abroad for a year. Her American exchange, she didn't get to pick where it was. It was in a town of 1,000 people in Mississippi. A BFE, a buttfuck nowhere Mississippi town of 1,000 people. Isn't that insane? And so she said she had an amazing time. She was like, I just knew it was going to be something that I'm only going to experience once. And she's like, I made the most out of it. And I was talking to these 2 girls, and they're like, yeah, we would just drive around and like listen to music and go to Sonic. Like that's literally all there is to do. I'm like, preach. Like, yeah, like I'm from small town Illinois. Like I get it. My town was a lot bigger. My town was like 4,000 people, but then it was next to a town that was 100,000 people. So it's like, I can't even say it's like super small town. Like there's nothing to do, but like it was small town USA, baby. Like small town USA. I get it. So that was so funny to hear, and we're telling all these stories, and those girls were fucking awesome. We are like laughing, giggling, like it was the most amazing picnic, and I'm so grateful that they invited me, because I was just like, I don't know, like thank you for taking me under your wing. Even at the club, like letting me dance with them and ask them about the songs, and like I didn't know any of the words. Like I probably looked so out there, you know, like I don't know, and they were just so kind to me. And I just really appreciated that, especially like being able to talk with a local in Spain made me so happy, and just like hear her experience about Madrid and why she loves it and what she thinks of the cities and other cities in Spain and where she's been and traveled to and traditions. And I fuck with that so much, so much. And so after the picnic, I left and I ended up seeing a Dunkin', and I have not seen a Dunkin' for over 6 months. I hadn't seen any in Europe, anywhere that I'd been, none in Bali, Morocco, but I see it and it was like holy grail lights. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to go get a large iced coffee. I get in there, the large is their size of medium. But the girl taking my order, she speaks to me in Spanish, and I just say like, oh, like no habla español, because I did Spanish for 3 years in high school and I hated it. Like I absolutely hated learning Spanish in high school because it was over COVID, and so I was learning Spanish on Zoom, which so tough. It didn't feel like I was doing this to communicate with people or to learn a new culture. It felt like I was doing this because I had to get a good grade, and I wasn't that into it. Like my mindset around it was not right. But ever since being in Spain, it made me really, really, really want to be practicing my Spanish and be learning it and like be serious about it and learn it, because I want to experience the culture and be able to talk to the people here and get around better and have a better experience while I'm here than just because I need to get a good grade. And like that flip in mentality, I was practicing my Spanish left and right. I'm like, oh my God, I want to learn a new language. I want to learn this and do this. And it made such a huge difference. So basically my level of Spanish is I know some like nouns and verbs, and I can use those to make a kind of say what I'm talking about sentence. If it's something very, very basic, a basic thing, I know like my colors, my numbers, and I know like some conversational things. But I don't know a lot. Like it's very, very basic, very, 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 very basic level Spanish, and not full sentences. So I've been practicing. I've been trying to, especially with solo travel, we know this, like it's all about getting outside of your comfort zone, and practicing a language and speaking in a different language is every single time it's out of my comfort zone. Ordering coffee, talking to anyone, using Spanish words, even if it's just a couple words in an English sentence just to like practice, is so out of my comfort zone. So I've been trying to do it as much as possible. And I also have been another one of the things that I've been doing while I've been here that I've been like proud of myself for doing, because it's so scary, but it's so helpful. And every single time that I've done it and I've asked for help, I have been greeted by big smiles and people excited to help me, and just excited that I'm asking questions and that I'm wanting to learn. Is I will ask, like, for example, I was ordering my ice cream at this gelato place in Sevilla, and I could not figure out how to say it. It's a stretches. Oh my God, it's so bad because I asked her how to say it and now I'm forgetting. Stracciatella. Apparently it's Italian, because someone DM'd me. I made a TikTok about this and someone DM'd me. They're like, girl, I just need you to know that's Italian. I was like, fuck. Like, I thought I'm really out here practicing my Spanish. But I just asked her, I was like, what is the correct pronunciation of that? So then I was practicing and I'd say it and she'd be like, no. And like she's kind of giggling and would tell me it again, and like not giggling like making fun of me, but just giggling because it's funny. Like I wasn't able to get it. And I said it again. She's like, American. I was like, yeah. Like I could not get it. But she helped me out, and eventually I got it. She's like, yes, like that was it. He like congratulated me. Like I was like, yes. And like just wholesome moments like that are so readily available to you if you are willing to ask questions and willing to go out of your comfort zone. Because it was scary. I'm like, it's scary and it's very vulnerable to ask someone to be like, how do I pronounce this? But they're happy to help. And so when I was at Dunkin', this woman spoke to me, the barista spoke to me in Spanish. And I just said, oh, like, no habla español. And she said, oh, like, inglés. And I was like, sí. She's like, oh, like, I only speak a little English. And I was like, oh, like, un poco español. And I was like, está bien, like, and she's like, oh, like, we can practice. And I was like, ah, yes. And she was so excited. So she was practicing talking to me in English, and I'd be like, yes. She's like, is that right? I'd be like, yes. And so then I was asking her, I was like trying to order in Spanish, and I was asking, like, how do you say, like, como se dice? And I was asking her, I'm like, como se dice large in español? And she was giving me, and she's like, grande. And I was ordering and like asking her questions of how to say words, and at the end I had ordered my Dunkin', which is a caramel iced caramel latte, or no, I just got an iced coffee with caramel, but I'd ordered my Dunkin', and at the end she's like, oh, like, amigas, like, adios. She called us friends. Like, I was like, oh my God, I actually love the people of Spain. Like, that was so wholesome. Are you kidding me? And she was just a little bit older than me. Like, it was so cute. I was like, oh my God, I made a friend. And it was so cute. So then I'm on this high and I go out and I walk the street and I see this man making earrings. And they were beautiful. They were fucking gorgeous earrings. They're like these suns, these wire wrapped suns, and he's doing it like on the street. And I love to stop for artisans on the street when they're like making it, and you can tell it's homemade because 1, it's unique, 2, it's them practicing their craft and making money off their craft and putting themselves out there. I fuck with that heavy. But I just think it's such a beautiful thing for artists to do, and I love to support art and artists. And also those things have a great story. Like, for example, have an amazing fucking story now because of our interaction. So I've been down and I'm like, oh, like, it's beautiful. And he said a sentence to me like full Espanol, and I was like, oh, like, no habla Espanol. And he was like, oh, like, un poco. And I was like, sí, like, un poco, but un poco, like, un poco. He's like, sí, like, un poco inglés. And I was like, oh, sí, like, está bien. And so I was like, all right, like, I could practice my Spanish. And so I'm trying to decide what earrings I want. And he said two. And I'm like, oh, like, does? He's like, sí. And he's like, good price. I was like, see, like, very good price. Like, these earrings are only €2. Like, that's crazy. That's a very good price. So I'm trying to decide what pair I want, and I cannot decide. There's these pair of beautiful, like, white, it was all wire with like a couple beads on them. And there was a pair with white beads and there was a pair with green beads. And so I'm sitting there and I cannot decide, and I'm like, okay, let me ask this man. And I'm like, well, if I'm gonna ask this man, I'm gonna ask him in Spanish, because we've already like established like what languages we speak. I'm like, I'm gonna practice. And so I'm like trying to remember, I'm scraping my brain trying to remember how to ask, like, which do you prefer. And so I ask, and I just, when you're in a new country and you're learning a new language, if you make mistakes and you are just open to learning and you are like smile and you kind of laugh about it and you're open to people correcting you and helping you, that's good. Like, that is a good thing, and it's okay to make mistakes. You should not be ashamed to practice or make mistakes. That's okay. And so I was trying to remind myself of that, and I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm getting up the confidence. Like, I'm gonna ask him which he prefers, what he thinks he likes better, what I should get. So I ask him, I'm like, ¿tú prefieres verde or, and I'm like, fuck, like, I don't remember what or is. So I was like, blanco. And he's like, sí, like, blanco is white. And then I said prefiero. He was like, oh, like, prefiero. Like, he gave me the correct one. I don't know if the correct one is prefiero, but like, he then said the sentence that I said to him, and he said it in the correct way. And I was like, oh, like, gracias. And he said it so kindly, and he was just like, he knew that I didn't know a lot of Spanish, and like, he was just helping me out. Like, I was like, I don't know the correct way, but like, will you tell me? And he did, and it was beautiful. And so that made me so fucking happy, because he gave me, like, when he gave me that correct sentence, and I was like, oh, like, tú prefieres, prefiero, and he repeated back to me what I said in the correct way. I literally was like, I love you. Like, I love you. That was awesome. Like, that was such a kind thing for you to do. And it put me in such a good mood. So he actually told me, he was like, well, personally, I like the white ones. Or no, what did he say? I think he might have liked the green ones better. I don't remember what ones he liked better, but he was like, but you can layer. I was like, sold. Honestly, I'll get both. He was like, you can wear both. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get both. So I got both, and wholesome little fucking moment. I loved it. Next night, what did we do? Everyone say it with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hostel pub crawl. Woo! Another hostel pub crawl. And so I was in my room, actually. Oh, this is kind of a cute story. Okay. Oh my God. All of this week was just a cute fucking story. So I'm in my room and I'm laying there and I'm trying to figure out what Instagram pictures to post. It's cute. It's the photos of me in the red dress on my Instagram. And it's the red dress. And it is also the photos of me at this picnic with my new friends. So you can go see those to put a name to a face, or put a face to a name. But I'm in my hostel dorm bed. And I'm like, I do not know what order to put these in. Like, I do not know what order to put these photos in. And usually I don't care, but I was just like, honestly, I also want to make a friend right now. So I'm in an all-female dorm. One of these girlies is going to be an Instagram girly and gonna know. So I stick my head on my window, and there's these two, or out of like my hostel bed, there's these two girls sitting there, and I'm like, hey, super random, but do you think that you could help me decide what Instagram photo to put first? And immediately they're like, oh my God, yes, absolutely. Like, come on over. They're so excited to help. Like, it was so girlhood. So they come over and they're like, all right, like, let's see what we're working with. And so I showed them all the photos. They're like, okay, like, can I see the base of your Instagram so I can know like what it's going to look like with the first photo, and so what it would be like. So I show them, I'm like, here's what I'm debating. Like, I'm debating putting the photo of like the two people first, because I haven't, like, all my photos recently have been solo. And she was like, no, like, I think you should put the solo shot first. Like, went through, gave me her whole reasoning why. She's like, because then this building will be here and this will look good with this. And I was like, all right, girl, like, you got it. Like, I'm gonna do exactly what you just told me to do, because you know what you're doing. And so then she was like, hey, like, we're gonna go out with some friends tonight. Like, do you want to go out with us? I was like, dude, low key, like, I don't have plans tonight. Like, I was gonna do the hostel pub crawl, but I'm low key not feeling like going out. So like, maybe like one cute little drink would be great. And also, these girls were a lot older than me, and I was like, this makes me nervous. Like, this makes me nervous to make friends who are not also like college girls. And so I was like, yeah, I will. Like, I'll say yes. Like, there was just something in me where I'm like, okay, like, say yes, Sam. Like, this is out of your comfort zone. Just say yes. So I was like, all right, like, yeah. She's like, okay, great. Like, we're gonna shower and get ready, and then like just DM us and like we'll go out. And so I did, and I met them downstairs, and we were all having this little bottle of wine together, like sharing, talking, and there were these two girls next to us. I'm like, oh my God, a cute lesbian couple again. I thought they were dating. I learned after they're not dating, they're just friends. But every time I see two girls together with good style, I'm like, oh my God, queens, they're lesbian queens, they're dating, and they're so cute, and they're such a cute couple. No, they were, but they were Valentina ally, and one girl was gay. So when I told them that I thought they were dating, they're like, oh my God, that's so funny. No, we're not. But anyway, ended up meeting these girls, and they're like, okay, we're gonna just do our own pub crawl. And basically, and then I'm sitting there, and it was like kind of there was like four of us, or I guess five of us, all talking. It was the two girls that I'd met in my hostel, and then these other two girls who were sitting there who I thought were dating, who were not dating. And then these two girls come up to me again, dude, like, this happened again. And she's like, oh my God, like, not to sound like a crazy stalker, but like, I have been following your travels on TikTok. Like, I'm also solo traveling, and like, I can't believe I ran into, like, you're Sam, right? And I was like, yes, like, oh my God. And so we hit it off, and we were chatting, and I was like, are you going out tonight? Like, are you doing the hostel pub crawl? She's like, no, I don't think I'm gonna do the pub crawl, but like, I would go out. And so then there was this group of like 7 of us, and the 2 girls were going to go have drinks with their friends. So they're like, okay, goodbye, like, we're gonna go. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay with these girls, because all these other girls were like solo traveling little college girls, and the girl recognized me from TikTok. And so I was like, okay, like, and they were talking, they're like, we want to go out, and like, should we all go out together? Like, we could just go to this pub crawl, like, we could make our own pub crawl. I'm like, fuck yeah, like, actually, yeah. And so the other 2 girls that I met in the hostel dorm, I was like, I think I'm gonna go do this pub crawl with them, like, whatever. And it wasn't like me ditching them. Like, they were going to go meet one of their like good friends, and so it was already gonna be me just kind of like I have to go down to that rave once I finish. Like, I need to finish these stories, you guys. Sounds fucking lit. That sounds awesome. Anyway, but like, I knew, like, I didn't want to just be sitting there and like being awkward for them. Like, I want them to have their friend time. And so they were happy with me being like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna leave. And like, it worked out perfectly. It wasn't like me ditching them. Like, they were meeting their longtime friend. Like, it was the vibes. And so there's these 5 of us girls. We go out, we make our own pub crawl, and we walk like 30 minutes to this club, and like, we just could not figure out a good club to go to. Like, and they were all just expensive to go into, so we went and got food, and then we went to this other bar, and it was such a good time. We ended up finding like this person on the street was just like, hey, do you want to join our pub crawl? And we were like, yeah. And so they put a VIP wristband on us, and they take us to this pub. We're like, where are we going? Walked for like 20 minutes. We're like, what the fuck is going on with all these other people? And we get into this bar. It's like an Irish pub, but it was so fun. They're playing Spanish music. The DJ downstairs was so good. There was like a disco in the basement, and it was so fucking fun. I was not even drunk. Like, I was probably off of like 1 drink, and I was having the best fucking time. And so we're dancing, having an amazing time. Obviously, we're dancing, having an amazing time. It was so much fucking fun. It was so much fun. And all of us girls are just smiling, like, dancing together. It was so fun. Had a little Diffmo moment. It was so cute. Like, I just love going out and dancing and meeting new people, and Diffmo, obviously, I've been talking about it this whole episode, but it was just the best fucking time. And then after that, we go back to the hostel. It's 5:45 in the morning. It's 5:45 in the morning when we go back to the hostel. And I end up staying talking with one of the girls until 6:45 in the morning. So then I go home, or I go to my hostel bed, and I get in bed. This is where I go wrong, where Sammy K, she did not need to do this. She gets on TikTok, and my For You page was fucking stellar. It was so good. I haven't had this good of a For You page in so long, bro. It was phenomenal, I tell you. I was crying laughing, sitting in my hostel bed by myself. I'm rolling around in my hostel bed laughing so hard, because I'm I'd just been drinking too, so I'm oh my god, I'm delirious from lack of sleep and drinking. My For You page was so funny. So I'm kind of awake, I'm up, I'm there's no way I'm gonna go to sleep now, because I'm fucking dying laughing. And I see this TikTok from this girl, because my stuff all right now is super funny, and then it's also just travel content, places to go in Europe. And I saw this video, and it was recommending this rose garden in Madrid. And it was this Madrid rose garden is beautiful at this time of year. And it was also, I woke up knowing that this was my last day in Madrid. I was taking a bus that night. So I was fuck, anything that I want to do in Madrid, I have to do today. So I'm fuck, I want to see that rose garden. Should I go right now? Should I actually not sleep and go right now? Get up out of bed, put my dress from last night back on, inside out, mind you. Didn't mean to put it on inside out, but it was inside out. And I get on the bus, and I go to this rose garden. I walk for a little bit, get on the bus. I get a little croissant, I get a little coffee. It's 8 a.m. I'm going to this park, and I'm thinking, oh my god, there's going to be no one out. It's early in Spain. No, there was a bunch of people, but it was funny because there's a lot of other, drunk people who also had not slept from the night before out on the streets. So I was yes, Team King. And I get to the park. The park's fucking crowded. There's so many people. And it's dog heaven. There were so many dogs. I saw the fluffiest little dog. I loved it. But I'm walking around, literally delusional off no sleep. I have the Call Me By Your Name soundtrack in my ears. So I was having a good fucking time. And I go to the rose garden, and it is fucking locked. It doesn't open until 10 a.m. So fuck, I just have to walk around this park. Well, it turns out this park is the most beautiful park that I've ever seen in my entire life. And the Call Me By Your Name soundtrack really made it so magical. It felt like I was in Spain, I guess. I don't know. It was so beautiful. There was this crystal palace, and it's just this big palace, and it's all windows, and it was so beautiful. And then I'm walking around, there's these gardens and these rose bushes, and the whole park was beautiful, and I got lost in it. And I ended up finding my way back to the rose garden at 10 a.m. or 10:30 and walking around in there, and I'm so tired at this point. So I'm okay, I need to go back to my hostel, do my laundry, and I take a shower, and then I get back in my bed, sleep for an hour, and then I have lunch with the girls that I went out with from the night before. So we all have lunch, we're chatting. One of the girls, this is so cool. So after, I'm in university right now for advertising, and after university, I am very much have been toying with the idea of New York and working in advertising. This girl lives in New York and works in advertising, and works in the sector of advertising that I find the most interest in, that I like doing in my classes the most. So I'm talking to her all about it, what it's like asking her the industry questions of well, what is it actually like? What's your day to day? How's your experience been at an agency? What do you like? Does it feel corporate? What are the people that you work with like? What's it like living in New York and living there post grad and moving there? All of these questions, and it was so amazing, and she was so cool and excited to share with me about her experience, and just so cool to meet people doing what you're doing. And I had so much fun talking to her, and all of the other girls, of course, and their experiences with life and their travels and their colleges and where they're from and what they love to do, and meeting new people and hanging out with them. And then after that, I ended up going back to the hostel and getting my stuff, and it was time to get on the sleeper bus to no, not Madrid. I was leaving Madrid. Wait, I didn't even share this story. Okay, to Barcelona, but I have two more stories that I want to share before I end this podcast episode, because they were cute little moments that I don't want to forget. Okay, I'm sorry, I just don't want to forget them. So one of the cute little moments is I visited my aunt's house when she lived in Madrid. My aunt lived in Madrid for 2 years, and she studied abroad there at first, and then she ended up moving there and studying abroad for 2 years. But that was a huge reason why I wanted to study abroad, was because growing up, she would always talk about her time abroad and how different it was and how beneficial it was to her life and her experiences. And so I always knew, going into college, I want to study abroad because my aunt studied abroad, and it was something that made sense for me. And so I'd always known about her time in Madrid. And so when I went to Madrid, I was send me all of your recs, everything, and she ended up sending me her address of where she lived. And it was the heart of the fucking city, the nicest area, the most beautiful plaza, so cute, next to a Natura store. Those it's the free people of Europe. And I like sent her a selfie in front of her house, and I like got emotional walking up to it. I'm like, oh my God, like my Aunt Kate would walk these streets and would hang out here and like see her friends, and this is how she walked home from class every day. Like, it was making me emotional. Like, oh my God, like so full circle that now as I study abroad, I'm studying abroad and then visiting Madrid, and it was so cool. And it was just so full circle moment that I felt so grateful to do. And then my last story is about my little bracelet that I have going on here. It's my silver chunks. I bought so much jewelry when I was in Madrid, and I started doing a gold hand and silver band. I also got my nails done in Madrid. Oh my God, fucking hell. I'm turning so straight, unfortunately. Me, after telling you about like every single girl that I fucking diff mode with and fell in love with this episode. But no, I'm turning straight in my appearance. Why is because me, literally, if you're watching the video episode, I'm holding up like the most crazy rings. Like my hands don't look straight, but I have acrylics now. They were super cheap. I walked past a sign and it was 35 euros for a full set, and I was like, what if I did it? Like, what if I just did it? Because I've been so bored of my outfits. Going to Madrid and getting to Spain, I was like, oh my God, I'm actually pissed off trying to pick out my clothes because I have worn the same things over and over and over. Like, it's been a month of me wearing the same 3 outfits, genuinely. Like, genuinely, I had 3 pairs of shorts, 1 dress, 1 skirt, and that is all that I've been wearing over and over and over and over again. And all my shirts look the same. They're all just athletic tank tops. Like, it's nothing crazy, and I haven't had a lot of jewelry to accessorize with, so I was like, I need to get jewelry to make these outfits like fit and like whatever. I was like, okay, maybe me getting my nails done will make me feel more put together and like more, oh, I have a fit on. So I saw that sign and I went to go get them, and I like my nails, but I don't know, it's not like my favorite thing ever. Like, I don't think it makes that big of a difference, and so I don't think I'm gonna get them refilled. I'm just gonna save the money. But yeah, now I have big ass acrylic nails on, so weird. I also want to take out my nose piercing. Okay, yeah, she gets acrylics and wants to take out her nose piercing, but I keep looking at the mirror and I'm just like, it looks ugly. I don't know. I don't like it on me right now. And if I don't like it on my face, why don't I just take it out? Like, I feel like it's not that deep, because I'm like, oh, I need it to like gay signal. Why don't you just like maybe talk to women? I don't know. Like, I don't really believe in the having to dress a certain way and having to look a certain way to be gay. Like, I used to subscribe to that very much in high school. And I would like wear these super gay outfits, and like I wouldn't even feel that confident in them, and they wouldn't feel like my personal style, but I was just wearing them because I was like, I want people to know that I'm gay. And I feel like, and then I grew out of that, and I realized that that's not something that I have to do. Like, I can dress in a way that's true to myself and still be gay, because your style has nothing to do with it. And I think reflecting on the nose piercing and how it looks on me right now, I'm not doing it because I like it, and I like the way that it fits with my aesthetic and the way that it feels on my face and the way that I look with it. I'm doing it because I want to let girls know that I'm gay, and I just don't feel like I care about that anymore. Like, I'm just like, I don't know, why don't I just maybe be myself? So once I realized that, like, I was just looking at the mirror and realizing, like, wait, I don't actually like this. Which is fine. Like, this is no shade to any other person's nose piercing. I hope you're not taking it personally. It's just, like, not my personal style anymore. I really liked it when I was in Australia. Also, when I got it, I knew it was not a permanent thing. Like, I genuinely got it, and I was like, I think I'm going to have this when I'm in Australia, and that's it. Like, I don't need it forever. And so, therefore, I'm wanting to take it out. I probably will. I'll make a TikTok about it, though. Like, it's going to stay in until I make this TikTok, because if I'm taking it out, it's going to be content. However, oh my God. I want it so bad. I want on the left side of my nose, I want a tiny, like the thinnest hoop you've ever seen, a thin gold hoop in my nose. I want it so bad. And I am scared of my parents' reactions for like a real nose piercing, because the septum, obviously you can flip it up, and then also it is super impermanent. Like, there's never going to be a hole there in your life. But I know that I'm going to want a nose piercing for the rest of my life. Like, maybe not the rest of my life, but at least for a long time. And I want to get it pierced, but you have to get it pierced with a stud, I believe. Like, I don't think anywhere pierces it with a ring. And also, I was doing this meditation, and it was like a future self meditation, and my future self was prancing around Milan, Italy, and she had a gold nose ring. And so, therefore, I really want a gold nose ring. And that feels way more true to myself and my personal style than the septum. Like, I didn't even really want the septum, but I wanted a nose piercing. But I was just scared of what my parents would say of me getting, like, a real side nose piercing. But the septum, like, does not feel true to myself. But the other nose piercing does actually feel true to myself and my style, because I love piercings. I love jewelry. Like, that feels like a dainty little piece of jewelry that's authentic to me. And also, I saw it in this, like, deep meditation of my future self. Like, I know that I will have one eventually, because girl, that's me, like, no doubt about it. And I want it so bad. Anyway, that's my little take on my nose piercings right now. And my second story that I was going to share with you before I end this podcast is, look at my little chunky silver bracelet. If you're looking on video, if you're on Spotify, it is a super big, like, chain link bracelet that I keep on my left hand, which is my silver hand. You can see it in my TikToks too. I went into this store, and it was kind of like a pawn shop, I believe, but it was, yeah, I guess it was a pawn shop. And this Spanish man, old man, worked it, and there was like a line in there of these Spanish women who were looking at bracelets and things, and I was the only person in there that was like speaking English, or like, and everyone in there was speaking fluent Spanish, obviously, like they were all Spaniards. And I was like, immediately before I even walked in, there was one bracelet in the tray outside that like really I saw, and that's why I went in the store. And so I asked the man, I'm like, can I see this tray of bracelets? He pulls it out, and I try on the bracelet, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so gorgeous, it's so gorgeous. And he tells me it's 90 euros, and I'm like, okay, that's honestly so much, like that is so much. And he's like, it's real silver, it's beautiful. It's like, yeah, I know, but that's so much. I'm like, oh, it's a little too much. Like, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna get it. So I put it back down, and I'm like, I'm sorry, like, lo siento, like, no, I just, a little too much for me, like, I don't think I'm gonna get it. He's like, oh, it's okay. So I leave the store, and I'm walking down the road, and I'm like, I'm gonna think about that bracelet forever. Like, I really want that bracelet. Like, I love getting jewelry that marks a story in a town that's like actually nice jewelry, because I've bought a lot of jewelry in Spain, but none of it has been actual pieces that like I know are nice that I'm gonna keep forever, you know. They've just kind of been like costume jewelry and like little $9 things here and there, like never a nice piece of jewelry. And I was like, this is a vintage piece of sterling silver from Spain and Madrid specifically, and I love Madrid, and so I want to have this story, especially buying it from this Spanish man at like this authentic pawn shop in Spain. And it's weird to say pawn shop, because it was more like art in there, like it was art and picture frames and nice watches and earrings and like rosaries and things like that in there. And so I don't even know what kind of store you would consider it, but I was like, I'm gonna go back in. So I went back in, and I bought it, and he was so excited to see me, and it ended up being a little bit too big, and he fixed it for me. He like took off a chain loop of it, like it was so nice. And so that is my story from Spain. I had an amazing time in Spain. I absolutely love it here. It has been wonderful. It's been incredible. It's been all of the verbs that mean wonderful, amazing things. I have had the most romantic week of meeting the coolest people and having the most wonderful time traveling around. I love Madrid. I called my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I want to study abroad here. She was like, maybe could you come home first? Because my whole plan was study abroad. This is crazy. Lore drop was going into college like my freshman year. I go in there, and I'm like, I want to study abroad 2 semesters. I didn't even want to go to college at first. I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm moving. Like, I'm not going to college. They're like, you should probably go to college. I was like, no, not doing it. I'm like, I'll go if I can study abroad twice. They're like, okay, I guess. That's not even like, this is not the full story. This is like the crazy short version of the story. But basically, I set up my college schedule so that I could have 2 semesters abroad. And like my advisors, like it's all in my plans. Like there's 2 semesters abroad. Next spring is supposed to be another semester abroad. But when I was studying abroad, I'm like, well, actually kind of I want to be at American University, because that is the craziest college experience ever. Like that's the best college experience. So I kind of changed my plans. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do 2 semesters abroad. Now that I'm in Madrid, though, I'm like, I want to do a semester in Madrid. I loved Madrid. I love Madrid. I would want to do a semester here. I absolutely loved it. I would do Madrid or Lisbon, but Madrid was way better. Madrid's like my favorite city that I've ever been to. It's not, but it's up there. My favorite city I've ever been to is Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam. Maybe I would do an exchange there. I loved Ho Chi Minh. But let's wrap up the episode with a little recap of the charity that we're donating to this week. As you know, and as I talked about in the beginning of this video and in episode 1, it is important for me to give back with this podcast. I want it to be a way that I can help support local communities. If I had the resources and the platform to be traveling to different cities and sharing all my stories about it, I have the resources and the platform to be sharing about local charities in the places that I'm visiting and donating to their causes. Obviously, this episode has been a lot about romance and the different women that I've been meeting and going on dates with and kissing and holding hands with. And so the nonprofit for this episode is called Akathi. They're based in Barcelona, and they are a LGBTQ plus refugee center and shelter, and they also provide resources and trainings, and I'll read you their mission statement from their website of everything they do, but I've been learning about them and I want to share them with you. And from their website it says, at Akathi we are dedicated to supporting the LGBTIQ migrant and refugee. This is interesting. In Spain, they put the letters differently. I didn't realize. I was like, wait, why am I like tongue-tied? What's going on? They put the I before the Q. Interesting. Okay. At Akati, we are dedicated to supporting the LGBTIQ plus migrant and refugee communities. We provide legal assistance, psychological support, and educational and employment guidance to help them thrive in an inclusive environment. As an organization led by LGBTIQ plus migrants and refugees, we understand their needs and work to protect their rights. Join us on our mission to build a more equal and welcoming world for all. Welcome to Akati. So it says they provide LGBTQIQ plus asylum, welcome and support, proven experiences, specific services, and labor inclusion with 20 years of experiences. So this is a nonprofit that I'm excited to be supporting. I will be donating $100 for this episode, and then I'll be matching all of your... This rave down here is going crazy, what the heck? I'll be donating $100 of my own money to Akati for this episode, and then I'll be matching every review of this podcast with $1 of a donation up to another $100. So up to $200 we'll be donating to Akati. If you want to leave a review for this podcast, let me tell you how, because I think last week it was a little confusing because it's only on Spotify, and Spotify's not known for like leaving reviews. But first of all, if you're watching on YouTube, you can just leave a comment a heart emoji, comment a pride flag, comment a rainbow, comment something about this episode, comment your favorite part, respond to one of my stories, anything, any comment, that will count as a review. And when you look up Solo Summer with Sammy Clay and you click on the show, it says follow, and then there's a little bell icon, there's a setting icon, and there's 3 dots. When you click the 3 dots and you hit rate show, leave any amount of stars, preferably 5 hopefully, and all of those reviews, so from 16 to 116, all of those, a dollar will be donated, and it's just a way for, as we grow this podcast, to be able to make more of a difference and more of an impact. And I'll also be putting the Akati website in the description of this episode, so if you want to go on and make a donation yourself or learn more about the organization, that'll be there for you. And I'm excited for the donation that we'll be able to make next week in week 3 of Solo Summer. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here with me on my travels and keeping me company and allowing me to yap to you and listening to the things that have happened to me and the stories that we have from traveling. I'm so excited to continue on and tell you everything that happens next week. I also have no clue where I'm going, so really next week is up in the air completely. I don't know what's gonna happen at all. Like, I know as much as you guys. So I'm in Barcelona for at least 2 more days, at least 1 more day. I don't know, I have a hostel for 1 more night, and then I have no idea. Well, no, I actually have a hostel for 2 more nights. Okay, so I have a hostel for 2 more nights, and then I'm out of here. Maybe I'll stay though. I have no idea. Like, I literally have no idea. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you for listening to episode 2. I'll be back next Sunday with another episode, and I'm gonna go check out this rave. Maybe something will happen there and you'll hear about it in episode 3. Also follow along. All of my travels will be on my Instagram. I've been posting so many photos, SKZZOLO, and then my TikTok, SKZZOLNO, with all of my daily vlogs. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening and being here. Mwah. Love ya. Ciao.